Okay, we're gonna be talking about school. No, wait, don't go. I know what you're probably thinking. Oh my God, it's the middle of July and who wants to think about school? I mean, it's summer, going to the beach and all these other fun things. No one wants to be thinking about school, right? Yes, I know what you're thinking, but we kind of need to talk about it. So what is so important about school that we have to talk about it now? All right, well, here's the thing. For those of you going back to school in September, there are a few things you need to keep in mind. And this goes both for university students and high school students. You're going to be taking classes, obviously. But some of the classes you're going to be taking might be classes that, well, you don't want to take, but you need it for credit. Or maybe it's like, depending on your major, you have to take a course outside of your department. So it's like, well, okay. And if it is, a class that you have to take for your degree, then you have to sign up for that as well. Now, some of these classes, and again, this can apply to high school as well. Some of these classes, you look at them and you might be thinking, Intro to College Writing. Yeah. It doesn't exactly scream enthusiasm. Writing is definitely not something many people are gonna be like, oh my gosh, a writing course! Yeah, no, and believe me, I know the feeling. Don't judge a class on its name or its description, and I have two stories for you. The first one was a few years ago. I had to take a class outside of my major, so I went down the list and I saw Intro to Administration. What could that be about? I had no idea. Well, I mean, administrative work, more or less, but I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna be one of those fun classes, but I need it for credits, so I'm gonna sign up for it and, slug through it. The first day, and it was like this throughout the entire year, one of the things that stood out to me was the professor. It was an older gentleman, and one of the things and his teaching style was that he didn't use the projector like most of the other teachers that I saw. They would always have like notes from the projector on like PowerPoint, and you would take notes and be boring, and the lectures just wouldn't be all that engaging. But this guy, he used a regular piece of chalk and wrote on the chalkboard, which did two things. Okay, it's like you're seeing the professor write down these notes. So you're like, okay, this looks important, and this is important, and this is important as well, because the professor is pointing them out. And then the other thing that he did was that instead of him just telling us all of this, all these vocabulary words that we needed to know, he basically told us a story. Like when you're really little and you're like in kindergarten and the teacher, opens up a book and reads to you. That's almost what it was like, except the whole kindergarten part and the teacher cracking open a book. So this Intro to Administration was basically an intro to business course for non-business students. You're basically getting like a crash course in business. And I loved it. It was a lot of fun. The stories that the teacher told us were very engaging. So not only myself, but the whole class, we were engaged in the topics. And so we would, we weren't just engaged. For me, I'm being totally honest here. I enjoyed that class so much. I was early. I got there early, and that class was not even in my major. I was that excited to take that course. Again, it was a lot of fun to take. Just because a class is an introductory class on business or administration, it doesn't mean that it's going to be boring. The second class that I'm going to be talking about is one I took a bit more recently, called Intro to College Writing. Now, again, the name doesn't exactly spur enthusiasm, but similar things were applied here. Now, unlike the first professor where he would write on the chalkboard, this professor did use a did use the projector. The way the class was structured, again, was not in the usual lecture style that you would come to expect. What I was expecting for an intro to college writing course, I was thinking like, okay, we're gonna teach you how to write an essay, but in that very boring, mundane kind of way where they basically give you a bunch of like practice essays to work on. They say, do this topic and then this topic and then this topic. No, it was nothing like that. It was write what you want to write about, and then we will help you make it better, not, oh, you know, write about this one thing and pretend to care. Like, just long enough to get a good grade, but, you know, we want to feel that enthusiasm that doesn't exist. Never again. I never liked those classes. And the class, again, was fun. So instead of the professor just throwing out a bunch of topics for us to write about, not only would he have us write about what we wanted to talk about, but what we wanted to talk about had to be in line with the theme of what we were learning. And the cool thing is that we could take outside sources. And not only could we take outside sources, the professor used outside sources. Here's an example. We would watch clips of The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. Okay, now I love watching Jon Stewart. I watch it like as much as possible. Even now when, you know, he has his like marathon going. Yeah. We would watch clips of The Daily Show that had to do with the topic that we were learning. And not only that, but I thought it was like brilliant. I thought it was genius because this was the first time that a professor introduced comedy or like outside entertainment in some way to make their point. And usually that I don't see that. I haven't seen that up until this point. It was basically like, okay, just here are a bunch of, you know, important people you need to know. Here are a list of facts, and just, you know, write an essay and make sure that it has proper formatting and all that. No, like we went over proper formatting too, but the focus was based on the general topic that we're learning about. What do you want to write about in that topic? And we will help you make it better. And the other thing was, we always got partnered up. It was either 2 people, or at one time it was like 3 people. We had to peer review each other's work, which meant on our own time, we had to read each other's essays and then type up a response. And then the one thing that made the assignment stand out to other assignments was that you, as the writer of your work, when you got back the maybe some grammar corrections and some suggestions on how you can make your essay better, you had to go back and respond to the person that peer reviewed your work and say, you know, thank you for looking at my work. You know, certain things, you point out certain things I thought were important, and here are some things I plan to change. That accomplished 2 things for me. One, it accomplished helping me become better at critiquing someone's work, because unfortunately, giving someone a critique and telling someone that their work sucks tends to get mashed together a lot. And a critique and telling someone that, oh, something's terrible, just for saying it's terrible, is not the same thing. A critique is basically pointing out things that may or may not be wrong with what you are presenting to your audience, and then on top of that, giving examples on how you can improve and make it better. You're not just bashing someone's work over the head, saying, no, this sucks, you can't write this, or you can't publish this because it's just plain bad. Or, you know, you just say, hey, you know, I don't necessarily agree with these points, or these points don't really make sense, and here's what I would suggest improving upon it. And then you, as the writer, you would go back and you would say, you know, thank you for the critique, and here's what I'm planning on changing. Or if you, as a writer, you feel really strongly about a certain point and you're not going to change it, because if you did, then it would make your work worse, then you would state that as well. And I thought that was awesome, especially because like the next day you would basically be, you go back and you would talk to the person that reviewed your work, and you might be able to ask them some questions, afterwards, just to make sure that nothing was lost in communication. Okay guys, those are my 2 stories on class. So I don't want you to feel like when you are signing up for a course that maybe you need the credits for it, or it's required for you to graduate, don't think like, oh my gosh, I have to take this course because I have to. There are two main factors that go into a classroom: the teacher and the students. And it's the teacher and students that help to make the class what it is. Granted, you as a student, you cannot control how the teacher, you can't fully control how the teacher presents the material. You can give suggestions, but also 50% of how the class turns out is what you do in that class. So are you just going to sit down and not say anything and not participate and just be bored even if the class in itself is boring? Or are you going to, raise your hand and ask questions and participate and give suggestions? If you really feel like the teacher isn't being as enthusiastic as you think that teachers should be, then, maybe if you gave that suggestion or that critique, the teacher might actually change. Because, to be honest, teachers do care. A lot of teachers do honestly care how they present themselves to students. If they feel like the curriculum isn't being understood, then they might pause in the middle of class to help students understand. But if you don't say anything, then it's not gonna, nothing is going to change. So before you think, I have class again in September, and it's just gonna be same thing, gonna be boring, nothing interesting, there's no point in even going to school, see what you can do to make it better. Okay guys, that's all I got today. Remember, life's an adventure, and remember to get up and go. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all my other social media will be in the links below. See you guys later. Bye.